How did a neighbor complaining turn into an all-out war? When I bought my first house at 28, I thought the biggest challenge would be fixing the leaky faucet or remembering to take out trash on Wednesdays. I never imagined my biggest problem would be Gary Mitchell, the guy next door, and one stupid tree. The house came with this massive oak tree in my front yard that had been there for probably 50 years. Beautiful tree, gave great shade, but every fall it dropped what felt like a million leaves. Most of them ended up blowing into Gary's driveway next door because of how the wind patterns worked in our neighborhood. At first, Gary seemed like a normal guy, mid-50s, worked some office job, kept his lawn perfectly trimmed. He'd just rake up the leaves and pile them by the curb with his own. I'd wave when I saw him outside and he'd nod back. No big deal. Then one October afternoon, I came home from work to find a plastic grocery bag tied to my doorknob. Inside were dead leaves and a handwritten note that said, "Take care of your mess," in angry capital letters. I laughed it off, thinking maybe he was having a bad day. The next morning, I woke up to find 2 more bags of leaves dumped right in the middle of my front lawn. Gary was standing in his driveway with his arms crossed, watching me through my kitchen window. When I stepped outside, he yelled across the yard that every single leaf came from my tree, and it was my responsibility to clean them up. I decided to be the bigger person and started bagging my leaves before they could blow anywhere. Spent my entire Saturday afternoon stuffing them into brown paper bags. But when I put them out for pickup, Gary marched over and started yelling about how I was using the wrong color bags. Apparently our neighborhood had some rule about only using clear plastic bags that I'd never heard of. He threatened to call the homeowners association. When the HOA thing didn't get him the reaction he wanted, Gary started taking pictures of my yard. He'd walk by with his phone out, snapping photos of any stray leaves, any spots where my grass looked a little brown, even my mailbox if it was slightly crooked after the mailman hit it. Then he started posting them on our neighborhood Facebook group with captions like, "This is what happens when people don't respect property values," and calling me the lazy leaf guy. I tried ignoring the Facebook drama, but things got worse fast. I started waking up to find my trash cans tipped over in my driveway, garbage scattered everywhere. My garden hose would be unrolled across my yard like someone had been spraying water around in the middle of the night. That's when I bought a security camera and mounted it where it could see my front yard. The footage from the first night was unbelievable. At 2 in the morning, Gary snuck across the property line with his garden hose and spent 20 minutes soaking my driveway and walkway. When I confronted him the next day with the video, he didn't even deny it. He said the water would teach me to respect the property line, and that maybe I'd finally trim my tree properly. So I decided to trim some branches that were hanging over his yard, thinking that might solve the problem. I hired a tree service guy, got the proper permits, made sure everything was legal. The branches barely hung 2 feet into Gary's airspace, but I figured removing them might calm him down. Big mistake. Gary called the city inspector, claiming I had butchered the tree and violated some landscaping ordinance. The inspector showed up, looked at the tree, told Gary it was perfectly fine, and left. But Gary wasn't done. The next day, I came home to find a huge pile of wet, rotting leaves dumped all over my front porch. They'd been sitting in water for days and smelled terrible. Worse, they'd completely soaked through a package that had been delivered that morning. $300 worth of electronics ruined. That was my breaking point. I gathered up all the security footage, screenshots of his Facebook posts, and photos of the leaf damage, and sent everything to the HOA board. They fined Gary $600 for harassment and violation of neighborhood conduct rules. Gary refused to pay the fine and showed up at my front door screaming that I was trying to destroy his life over a few leaves. He was yelling so loud that neighbors came out to see what was happening. That weekend, I installed an 8-foot wooden privacy fence along our property line.